So today is the last day for Anthem, and it came out right at the beginning of 2019. So 7 years later, it's officially going offline. And since this game is completely reliant on an internet connection just to function, the game just goes away. And it's something that people, of course, been pushing back on with the gaming industry since, I mean, what if you paid for it? Like, I did. So, what I want to do today, since apparently the digital version of this game just hasn't been available for people to re-download for like a week or more now, I thought we would install this and jump back in because I will tell you this, I have not played the game basically since it first came out. So, it's almost completely unfamiliar to me at this point as to what was even going on in the game outside of I'd say the fun nature of just jumping out into the world with your suit for the first time and you're feeling like Iron Man when the game just completely went downhill after that. But hey, let's see what we have with Anthem on its final day of existence. So if you guys enjoyed the video, hit the like button and subscribe if you're new. Okay, here we go. Back into Anthem. We got to connect to the online services. I haven't tested this yet, so here's hoping. They are still up. It's supposed to go offline on the 12th. It is the 11th as of recording this. Okay, there. It looks like we're in. Now, I mentioned I played it when it first came out. I also went back because I remember I took a look at it when people were saying the Christmas lights were still up, and that should have been the writing on the wall when they left the Christmas lights up well into the next year. I think it was like a couple of months into the new year at that time. The Christmas lights were still all over the place. So here we go with game update. Anthem server sunset January 12th. All right, great. They warned everyone half a year basically in advance. But that's it. 7 years later, the game is done. Wow. Okay, so I forgot. The game is still stuck at 30 FPS on consoles. Interesting because it does have Xbox One X enhancements. So you kind of figured one of those would have been to lift the frame rate at least over time. I mean, I guess when I did play it, it was 30, wasn't it? I'm just thinking about now doing like Series X backwards compatibility with it. So the whole thing is you're in like this encampment basically, and then occasionally you go out and run missions and stuff with your like exosuits. Let's see if I can remember how to do all that. Okay, here we go. We'll run back here. I got the levels. So once I got the level, yeah, it was almost 18. I mean, that was the end of the game. I remember, but there's still all kinds of stuff to do after that, but there's an entire grind from what I remember going from the end of the game to endgame. All right, like the end of the story to the end of the game where you do all the extra content and stuff. That, because I think the max level is level 30 in this. So this, again, this is the stuff that was actually pretty cool, right? So you would get up, you'd get into your suit. They had an entire, really well done animation for it. Let's see, what do I want to do? I guess I can just do, free play, right? Just explore. Definitely don't miss these. Remember load times? I feel like we don't really see these screens much anymore. Like the traditional one where a bar has to fill up at the top or the bottom of the screen. That bar is not moving right now. There we go. That was like a solid minute. All right. Let's legendary, great. Legendary ones. All right. So now I have to try to remember the controls. That's the other fun part. So there we go, we could fly, just jump, click in the left stick, and I'm off and running. And this was the whole thing. In the beginning of the game, they had you jump out into the world and then start your thrusters, and it felt like you were Iron Man at first. Like you just jump off of a cliff and you're off, and that's it, right? You can still fire and stuff from up here, and you can thrust forward. And all of that, like the entire control scheme flying around felt great. I'll even say the action isn't bad either, like kind of jumping between, throwing abilities. Yeah, like all of that is fine, I feel like. It's funny, I definitely still see people running around right now. Like, I just saw a name pop up over there as they were just kind of trekking by, because I have this up and it did matchmaking and everything. So the last day for this game, that you can't download it digitally, so most people who bought it digitally would have had to just already had it. I mean, they're still invested at least somewhat. And there we go, 200 experience, some additional loot. See, that's the thing for me with this is there was a lot of potential in the idea of you get loot for your exoskeleton, you build it up. It didn't seem to catch on like something such as Warframe And I'll admit, I never really got that interested in the world, and I remember going through, and the game just became such a slog because all of the missions just blended together, and it was kind of the same idea over and over and over again. So I ended free play because I looked through my logs, and there seemed to be a couple of missions that I could do. One of them I just went ahead and tracked and said I had to come back here to talk to Matthias. Here we are.
What have you been up
Let's
to?
see, has you know what? I remember
Okay,
being
it's
blown
called
away by the visuals when they first showed it in the fort with these
technically, I
different
called
character
them
models.
And
And I mean,
does
look, this
what
was
exactly?
2019 when this
For
game came
years,
out.
I'd heard of the
It does feel like
paper relic
we've
that was able to
definitely moved
amplify and
past
augment the qualities
kind of this
of an
era of
object.
visuals. I mean, just
Never encountered
outright
one,
character models
never
have
knew anyone
gotten to
that
the level
had.
of almost uncanny valley,
Thanks
you
to
can
the
say.
Elysian manuscript, I
But
think I
it's
know where
just
one
it's
is.
funny to think, man, like
Right here.
7 or 8 years ago, this
In
was
Bastion.
mind blowing, and
And you
now it
think
looks
it'll
pretty
amplify and
standard.
aug-
Maybe there's not as many people on as I thought there were. I mean, I definitely saw some people when I ran through during free play, but now I need to matchmake, I guess, for this mission. Okay, I guess it took about 2 minutes, I think, and now here's the load screen. So that I get maybe that was the other part of this. The action is very broken up by waiting at different screens. It's pretty consistent. I've seen this load screen multiple times now already in like 20 minutes of playing right now. So that definitely didn't help the flow of the game. See, like we go to we go into the instance, load screen pops up. Another load screen. And basically, I just went in there, picked something up, had to turn around, come back out. They said there's a camp of some kind, so I figure that's probably going to be where we end up fighting a bunch of enemies. And yeah, that was the case, so very predictable at times for this game. Yeah, you're going to do a very similar thing pretty much consistently, which was, again, a shame because some of the gameplay mechanics and the ideas that were here were genuinely different, interesting, and then you kind of run into now more than ever, what looks like a very standard by-the-books live service looter shooter. Especially now, you really have to set yourself apart in the live service genre, or you're just going to be left behind very quickly. You're going to blend in, and we see these games shut down in, at times, less than a year. So Anthem, I will admit, lasting as long as it did, little surprising, but it feels like a lesser Warframe. And part of that's also because you look at, it seems like they abandoned it. They had big plans, didn't work out, and they, I guess, moved on after a year or two. I will say the shooting, it feels fine, right? I think it's pretty good. I have a fairly large bloom effect here, it looks like, but it shrinks down pretty quick. I have, again, my abilities and everything that go along with it, but I'm not even really thinking much about those. I'm just laying into whatever's in front of me with my standard assault rifle, and it's getting the job done. It's some basic tropes at this time. Now I'm just kind of defending a point as it has to decrypt because, of course, that's take a while to do. And maybe that's the other thing. I mentioned it blends in, but with live service games that this is mimicking basically here, right? It's just, you bring up the question, why play this live service game over another? And Anthem just couldn't seem to answer why you should play this game over Destiny or over Warframe, right? So that was the thing they were always contending with, and now they know. Now a lot of companies know it's really hard to pull people away from established live service games. But remember, this was 2019, and even before that, when they were developing it, we didn't have that as much knowledge as we do now as to you have to really, really work to pull people away from these live service games. This kind of reminds me of, and it might be bad to say, a little bit of, I think, Exoprimal, actually. Exoprimal had an interesting idea where they dropped a bunch of dinosaurs on you, and that was really cool when they first showed it, and then people started to realize what the game was, and it became a very generic kind of live service style shooter, and that was sort of it. It wasn't able to dethrone any of the other games, the multiplayer games out there, and it got buried and kind of fell by the wayside. So kind of a similar situation now I'm thinking about it. Just Exoprimal was much more recent. This just being an earlier example. These ultimate abilities, when they hit, they look really cool. Like, you can see just annihilating everyone. Like that, you do feel incredibly powerful. You know, as I'm playing this, though, I will say the unfortunate part about the shutdown, this game, to me, feels like it's really set up for that 10-year random YouTube recommendation that's like, were we too harsh on Anthem? Was Anthem actually a good game? It's not going to be possible because the game will be gone, but this just makes me think that this is a game that could get that kind of a treatment if it were able to stick around. And that, I think, is the biggest thing as I go to another load screen here, is even if you don't like the idea, you don't like Anthem, you don't like the idea of it, anything like that, or even live service games, it still seems weird to me that a game could be fully paid for, like full $60 for when this came out, right? And maybe you put more into it, I don't know, collector's edition, special edition, microtransactions, whatever, right? But then it just gets shut down and it's gone. And there was never a thought in their mind of, let's make this an offline game. Nothing. They just shut the thing down. That's it. It still seems crazy to me that is like a thing that can happen. I don't know. Even so, I think people should have the ability to go back and play this game in an offline capacity. I feel like that's something that should be almost required by these companies, as we've talked about Stop Killing Games. And seeing something like this where, I mean, it's still a highly polished game from what I'm seeing. Like I mentioned the animation to get into the suit, the visuals of that, they're top notch for 2019. Sure, they haven't aged the greatest now. I look at it and I go, I mean, it looks pretty standard. But again, looking back on it in like a retrospective sense, it might be one of those games, but we'll really never know because this game is gone in 24 hours. Also, I do think you can have a mediocre or somewhat boring game like that you're playing by yourself, going through the motions. I think you can make it fun if you're playing multiplayer with friends, just outright, just by the nature of just hanging out with your friends and kind of a social game that, yeah, maybe do the same thing over and over again. But because you're with your friends, you guys are goofing off and you can have fun with it. This puzzle is kind of funny, by the way. They have these symbols and little portal looking things laying around, and they don't really tell you what to do. So you just kind of look around a little bit and, oh. All right, well, I guess that's the answer for this one. Each one just has something kind of hidden around it, like one of these symbols. You just look around real quick, find it, and then just shift it to that color and that symbol. And that's it. Mission completed. Got the manifold. We're heading back. Got some pretty good experience. Leveled up to 18. Decent looking weapons, I guess. I'm not as up to date on the rarity or the meta or the lore with any of this, although I guess most of it's going to be get to endgame and then start trying to figure out your best weapons, you know, as you kind of expect. So not bad though. If nothing else, I have some stuff that I can salvage or sell. But I think that's going to do it for a quick look at Anthem, just kind of logging in on the final day and running through some free plays. So we flew around with that, did a quick event that happened, went on a quest here as well. And I mean, it's still Anthem. I mean, it's not going to matter here in another day or two, but it's interesting moment in time, I guess. It just didn't live up to the expectation for BioWare or even the hype from that first showcase they did for the game that blew people away. Just wasn't able to reach those heights. But I still, as I mentioned, saw people playing today. So there must be at least an audience that's kind of stuck with this game, or who knows, maybe they decided to log in on the last day as well if they had the physical copy or still had it installed. But that's just, it's a moment in time that is basically going to disappear for BioWare. And maybe that's the thing that's the real shame, is that a game like this can just kind of disappear after a few years, and EA can just kind of move on from there, even if you bought the game. And that's the biggest thing around Stop Killing Games and other initiatives like that, is to make it so something like this could still exist as an offline game. Even if you don't think the game's very good, I do think it should still exist even for the future, because, well, somebody's got to make that YouTube video in another 5 or 6 years about how misunderstood this game really was. But let me know what you guys think about this one down below in the comments. Again, just wanted to give people a look at Anthem right before it went offline. Hey, if nothing else, for just maybe future curiosity. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.